court deciding this morning presidents do have immunity for official acts, but there is no immunity for non-official acts.
By now, you've probably heard the breaking news and read the headlines. Supreme Court justices give Trump broad immunity, delaying January 6th trial. The decision expands presidential power and sends Donald Trump's D.C. trial back to a lower court. Legal experts say the ruling is breathtaking. Quote, the imperial presidency is now concrete. Another said this is a blueprint on how to end the rule of law. But I want to read to you at length, through my own prompter, the even more stunning words of one of the dissenting Supreme Court justices, Sonia Sotomayor. Her 29-page opinion is one of the harshest rebukes of a majority Supreme Court opinion in decades. Quote, today's decision to grant former presidents criminal immunity reshapes the institution of the presidency. It makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. Relying on little more than its own misguided wisdom about the need for bold and unhesitating action by the president, the court gives former President Trump all the immunity he asked for and more. The court now confronts a question it has never had to answer in the nation's history: whether a former president enjoys immunity from federal criminal prosecution. The majority thinks he should, and so it invents an atextual, ahistorical, and unjustifiable immunity that puts the president above the law. Whether described as presumptive or absolute, under the majority's rule, a president's use of any official power for any purpose, even the most corrupt, is immune from prosecution. That is just as bad as it sounds, and it is baseless. Finally, the majority declares that evidence concerning acts for which the president is immune can play no role in any criminal prosecution against him. That holding, which will prevent the government from using a president's official acts to prove knowledge or intent in prosecuting private offenses, is nonsensical. The historical evidence that exists on presidential immunity from criminal prosecution cuts decisively against it. For instance, Alexander Hamilton wrote that former presidents would be liable to prosecution and punishment in the ordinary course of law. For Hamilton, that was an important distinction between the King of Great Britain, who was sacred and inviolable, and the President of the United States, who would be amenable to personal punishment and disgrace. This historical evidence reinforces that. From the very beginning, the presumption in this nation has always been that no man is free to flout the criminal law. The majority fails to recognize or grapple with the lack of historical evidence for its new immunity. With nothing on its side of the ledger, the most the majority can do is claim that the historical evidence is awash. Our country's history also points to an established understanding shared by both presidents and the Justice Department that former presidents are answerable to the criminal law for their official acts. Consider Watergate, for example. After the Watergate tapes revealed President Nixon's misuse of official power to obstruct the Federal Bureau of Investigation's investigation of the Watergate burglary, President Ford pardoned Nixon. Both Ford's pardon and Nixon's acceptance of the pardon necessarily rested on the understanding that the former president faced potential criminal liability. Today's court, however, has replaced a presumption of equality before the law with a presumption that the president is above the law for all of his official acts. Imagine a president states in an official speech that he intends to stop a political rival from passing legislation that he opposes, no matter what it takes to do so, an official act. He then hires a private hitman to murder that political rival, an unofficial act. Under the majority's rule, the murder indictment could include no allegation of the president's public admission of premeditated intent to support the mens rea of murder. That is a strange result, to say the least. Looking beyond the fate of this particular prosecution, the long-term consequences of today's decision are stark. The court effectively creates a law-free zone around the president, upsetting the status quo that has existed since the founding. This new official acts immunity now lies about like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place his own interests, his own political survival, or his own financial gain above the interests of the nation. The President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way, under the majority's reasoning, he will now be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Immune. Organizes a military dissenting coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon. Immune, 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 immune. Let the president violate the law. Let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain. Let him use his official power for evil ends. Because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he might not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That is the majority's message today. Even if these nightmare scenarios never play out, and I pray they never do, the damage has been done. The relationship between the president and the people he serves has shifted irrevocably. In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. Never in the history of our republic has a president had reason to believe that he would be immune from criminal prosecution if he used the trappings of his office to violate the criminal law. Moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. If the occupant of that office misuses official power for personal gain, the criminal law that the rest of us must abide will not provide a backstop. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. And that was Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, said the liberal justice's dissent struck a tone of chilling doom that is wholly inappropriate to what the court actually does today. But the liberal justices said their fear is justified. And I agree. What is Donald Trump going to do if he gets elected and knows, as he does now, that he can get away with even more stuff? Trump already ran over every norm that he could. Now, Trump is planning retribution against people who disagree with him. And to get away with it, all Trump will have to do is say he is acting in his official capacity as president. We have entered uncharted waters. And in November 2024, everything could get a lot worse. By the way, some of Donald Trump's fiercest supporters include the group Moms for Liberty, while a California chapter founder recently went berserk at the sight of a bunch of Hawaiian drag queens.
I spent $3,000 to stay here. I'm not having my child see a man pretending to be a woman. This is completely offensive to me.
I'm sorry. Then you should leave.
No, because I paid $3,000 to be here. I'd like to talk to the manager.
He's right there.
In Hawaii, the Karen who wants to talk to a hotel manager about some drag queens is named Beth Bourne. She's a founder of the California chapter of the conservative Moms for Liberty, and Bourne is an employee of the University of California, Davis.
Okay, why do you think it's okay to pretend that you're a woman?
We were invited here.
You were invited here? Who invited you here?
The manager.
The manager thought it was okay to have men pretending to be women in front of children, even though we know there are boys that are having their penises cut off because they are effeminate, because they like wearing makeup, because they like having their hair styled like this, because they like high heels.
Your point?
Are your breasts real or are they fake?
Touch them. And that is Marina Del Rey. He's a Hawaii drag queen who was with other artists at a resort in Honolulu at the resort's invitation. Resort management invited the drag performers to shoot a video promotion for a performance coming up.
No, I don't hate anybody. I'm worried about the boys in my community who think that they could become women because they're effeminate. And they like wearing makeup and they like wearing drag. There's lots
you're
of...
wearing shorts and a tank top. Isn't
Exactly.
that masculine?
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Serbino, who wrote, "What snowflakes these conservatives are." I agree. I look forward to reading your comments about the scathing Trump immunity dissent delivered by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.